check.
Check, check. 1, 2, 3.
Perfect. Alright, I need to go. I need that up there. Oh, we just went live. Okay, man. Alright. Okay, and you good to go?
I'm good to go.
Alright, man. Here we go. Start in 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everybody, to Geekvice, episode 174, proving any vice with enough geek can become a virtue. My name's Morph. That man's Kip. Good evening, Kip.
Good evening.
How are you doing after this long break that we took?
I'm doing all right. It feels like we were gone a month, doesn't it?
I know. It's kind of crazy on how, like, sometimes it just feels like, oh, hey, we've been gone forever. Really, we were only gone a week. So I don't really know what we did or why that feels that way, but it does. So um, we did miss last week. That was my fault. I forgot that I
My
was
fault.
traveling. So, that's kind of the way that goes. And so I was traveling for work and was gone a bunch, gone Sunday and Monday, and then Kip got sick, and so we couldn't record. We didn't record then. So we're back, and then again it was my fault on why we didn't record on our normal night of Sunday nights yesterday because my internet disappeared on Saturday, and they couldn't fix it. So they had to
Which I don't
come.
understand how that's your fault, but okay.
Well, I mean, well, it's my fault in the sense that it was you were perfectly capable of recording, but I have all the stuff on my computer, so um, there there really wasn't any other way around it. I thought about like, well, you could host it and put it on there, but like with the new setup that we have, all that's all on my computer, so it
Yeah,
wouldn't
it is.
wouldn't really wasn't any way around that. So um, my internet went completely out, and apparently, talking to Time Warner, the modem went down Saturday at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But Saturday was such a nice day outside, didn't know it until about 6:30 when I tried to turn on the sporting game. And since we run all of our stuff through the internet, we don't have cable TV. Nothing worked.
Isn't that a
So
great feeling?
yeah. So, and the at least the good thing about that being out and the way we consume most of our TV is that we were able to still watch our movies and the TV shows we already had. So Sunday or Saturday night and Sunday evening, we were still able to um, watch some movies because all of that is on my server, and my network wasn't down, just the internet. So everything that was connected still to my server and to my wireless router still was able to work. So that was at least good. We just couldn't watch Netflix or pull up any of our sports channels, but we could still watch my Plex server and watch our movies. So we watched we've watched Moana like probably 3 or 4 times now because the kids seem to be really liking that one. Have you have you
I've never seen that.
It's really not a bad movie. It does have The Rock voicing one of the main characters, um, but it's your standard Disney fare, so it's not all bad. But let's see, some announcements. We've got, we really only have one announcement, and that is the Podcast Arcade guys, which if you aren't following the Podcast Arcade, you should. Facebook.com/the Podcast Arcade. Or you can go check out their website at thepodcastarcade.com. And they're having a charity event. If you're up in the Omaha area, there is a charity event at a Scooters, and it's for U-Turn Omaha, which is a kind of a charity that helps a bunch of a bunch of different people in the Omaha area. So Kip and I won't be able to make it there, but they are doing a charity, and you can find out more on their Facebook page, as well as the hosts. I guess the podcast that's hosting this is Underground Inc. and Ben and Billy do a great job over there with movie reviews and different things. Following their stuff's a lot of fun because they do a lot of good. They talk about a lot of different movies, and it's interesting hearing their take on different movies, especially ones that I like. Um, so there's their plug. Do you got any other announcements we should throw out there?
Um,
I
no.
know I'm throwing you under the gun right there. Like I don't. It's we don't have a whole lot of stuff going on right now. We've got some stuff coming up here in the next couple months, but we're some big plans with some conventions. So stay tuned for more of that. We'll finalize some details before we release more of that information. But um, let's talk a little bit about our event. Geekvice Tabletop Day was a week ago now. Kind of crazy. It was that long ago. Uh, and it was, I consider it a big success. Had a lot of fun. Got to actually meet some people that I've talked to online and hadn't actually met in person, like Celeste. So that was really cool. Got to play some cool board games, and you actually won a game.
Yeah, go figure. That just shouldn't happen, and it did.
Yeah, it's it's pretty impressive. We played a bunch of different games. Played Dresden Files. What was some of the other ones that you guys played?
We played Star Trek Panic
Right.
and Tiny Epic Galaxies.
Nice. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it was good times. Played a bunch. My kids are loving Formula D, which you let us borrow. So that is thank you for that one.
Oh, no problem.
They are absolutely loving that. So much so that they actually took it where we went somewhere. Where did we go? Went to some family's house or something, and they wanted to take Formula D with them. So the they're loving playing that thing. They'll just get it out in the mornings before school, and they don't like playing with the rules of having to stop at the turns. They really just want to shift up and get to that 100-sided die or whatever it is. Uh, but it's fun. I talked to Brad, our buddy Brad at our event, and he's going to let me borrow a couple of the other tracks that he has for that. So I'm gonna try maybe actually trying to do a like a series with the kids, and might even try to record it. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, you
But
might want to look online. They have a lot of rules and things for league play of that
yeah,
game,
yeah,
where you can like a World Series of NASCAR or whatever the hell it's called.
right.
You can tell I'm a big racing fan.
Yeah, I think that game's just so much fun, and it's so simple to play that the kids they're able to pick it up and roll with it really well. I don't know that we'll get to the complex side of it with where you have the different wear points for the different things, but I want to read those rules and see if they're too complicated for my 5-year-old, and if I need to keep it with the basics. But right now we just play like maybe 1 or 2 laps, so the wear points don't really come into a challenge. But I know that league play stuff will definitely ramp that up, and even if we keep with the basic gameplay, but just ramp up the how many more laps you've got to make and things like that. So.
So if you're not doing the stops for the curves,
Oh, if they're
are
not
you
doing the stops, they don't even keep track of wear points. They just roll the
okay?
giant
That's
dice
my
and
question. Yeah.
see how far they go. But when I sit down and play with them, I make them use the stops and push those. It's funny watching them. Like Reese, my older one, will push the envelope with those wear points. And the same thing when Amber plays. She pushes the envelope with them too. Conley is extra conservative and will, you know, slow down a lot more. Maybe come into a turn hot and then put on the shift down 2 and take that damage just so he can slow down and make sure he stops enough. So it's kind of funny seeing the different ways they'll play and the different ways that they think about it. So
Well, interesting about that game is if you're too conservative, you don't use any wear points, you're not going to win.
right,
If you're too just free with the wear points, you end up just crashing and not being able to finish the race.
yeah,
There's that fine line where if you can finish with 10 to 2 wear points, you're probably winning the race. But
right,
it's hard to balance that. As like,
yeah. Because you can blow through them really quick, and
yes, you can.
it's fun. I remember playing that when you and I worked together, and we play it over lunch, and it would be like, oh, it was really more a matter of who didn't crash.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was it's fun. I gotta say that's a real fun game. So what'd you take out a tabletop day? What was your favorite one that you guys played?
Well, I think my favorite game is it was Star Trek Panic. We actually did end up winning. It's a cooperative, so you play against the game. We end up winning, but it was close. There,
Yeah,
we couldn't fly the ship, so we were just floating around in space. So basically, it was the equivalent of finishing Formula D with one wear point left. Is basically where we were at. But it was
right.
a good time. We played. We had a 6-player game, which was pretty awesome to play with the max players like that.
Yeah.
And then we played a couple of games of the Dresden Files, and I think I had played 6 or 7 times previously, and we never even got close to winning. We won on our second go around on it, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and then we played Tiny Epic Galaxies, and I wasn't even close to winning, but I didn't finish in last. So,
Who ended up winning that one?
holy crap! I knew you were going to ask me that.
Because was it Norm from Cheers?
No, I think he's the one that finished in dead last.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Because I thought he was doing pretty good there for a little while.
yeah. I can't remember who won. All I remember is it wasn't me. And when I could tell it was getting close to the end, it's like, holy crap! Because you got to get 21 victory points.
Right.
I was at 8 when the game ended.
Oh,
when
wow.
when I saw that the game was about ready to end, I think I got it up to. I think I finally got it up to 12 or 13 on in one turn because I just kind of cashed in everything I had.
Right.
But yeah, it was not good.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Oh, I did think of one other game that I played there, and I forgot about this altogether, but I really loved it. I got to play Codenames, which I'd never played Codenames
Oh
before.
yeah, that's a good game.
And I was really surprised that I had never played it. I'm like, I I could have swore I'd played that game before, and I think I just saw it in your collection. You probably brought it to work at some point.
I
Do
don't
you?
own that game.
You don't own that one? Maybe it's somebody else that brought it then. I don't know. But I could have swore that I've seen it played, or like it was played around me, and maybe I just didn't get in on it. But that game is a lot of fun, and I'm thinking I want to get that game because I want to play. So it's intended to be played with like four to more people. So the idea is to have two teams, and the way Codenames works, for those of you that don't know, is there are 25 cards laid out on a table, and all these cards have words, one singular word on them, like shark or whale, bark, tree. They don't have to have anything in common, or they could have something in common. Then each team picks a code master. I think that's what they called it. And that person, or those two people, will sit next to each other, and they're given like one card between the two of them that shows 25 squares, and they're coded red and blue. Some of them are just gray, and one of them is black. So between those 25 cards, you will have, say, nine. You'll have 9 red and 8 blue. It means red goes first in that case. Um, and you'll have one black one, and then the rest of the 25 will be just gray. So the gray ones are innocent bystanders, the red ones are for the red team, and the blue ones are for the blue team. And the idea is that the codemaster will give a clue that is a singular word, and and then a number. And that singular word will be something that the cards have in common that you want your teammates to guess. So it would be like if there was bark and leaves, you could say tree, and then the number would be how many cards that has in common. So in that scenario, it would be 2. So then you would hope that your teammates will be able to talk amongst themselves, figure out which cards it is, and guess those cards. Now, let's say you say tree and you have bark and leaves and roots in the are the cards, but you only want them to do 2 of them, and they guess one that's not part of yours. If it's on the other teams, you put the other team's card on there, and they basically get a point, and you are done. You're done guessing, and it goes to the next team. Or it could be an innocent bystander. You put an innocent bystander card on there, and the other team gets a turn. Uh, and then if it's the black card, that is the assassin, and you automatically lose. This game, uh, really fun, really hard. The game sounds simple, and it sounds really easy when you're getting the rules explained to you. But when you try to actually play, it is really hard. Um, the Let's see, there's also a 2-player variant for this game that allows you to basically play with just 2 players, and in that case, you can have basically whenever it's the other team's turn, you just automatically give them a card, and the idea is to try to get through with as few cards on the opposing team as possible. The first team to guess all their cards wins, and there's one of the variant rules to the 2-player game is to basically play. You could have more than 2 people, so you could just have everybody be on one team and just have one codemaster. That's what I want to try. I think that would be hilarious in a big group setting of having everybody trying to figure out what the codemaster is trying to get you to guess. I kind of want to get it and play it with some of just as more of a party game rather than a competitive game, and just see how that turns out. I think it would be a lot of fun.
That would be pretty cool. Yeah, we'll have to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you could even do that. Like, you could even play a game like that at work over lunch, and instead of competing against people, just have everybody working together to compete against, the basic AI. Um, and the funny part, we played this. So it was me and Reese on a team against uh, Brad and his daughter Erin. And Erin is, I don't know. It's hard. It's his daughter, but she's in college. So, and Brad and Erin are scary the way they think the same. So I th- I think they ended up winning. We only played one game with them, and they ended up winning. But it's not really surprising. This was the first time Reese and I had played. They had played before, and they think so similarly. Um, it was kind of funny because there were several times, several clues that I gave to Reese, and Reese picked another card, and I looked at him like, "God damn, dude, you're right. That I didn't even think about making that association." It's like, I mean, I don't know how. I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible because he's only 8, but even then, it's like I can't think of words that go together, or I couldn't put the stuff together in my head, and it's a lot harder than it sounds. So, really fun game though. Um, oh, that was another one. So I'm gonna have to get that one. I think that was one Celeste brought, and so I'm gonna have to. I think that's gonna go on my list to pick up at tabletop. So
That's a good one. I've only played it once, maybe twice, and I just remember it being a good time. It's just one of those games you do have to have the right amount of people and the right people. Yeah,
yeah,
it wasn't fair that you had to play against the Coots because she's basically his mini me.
yeah,
So it's a tough. That was a tough one to overcome there.
yeah. That was well, and they even made the comment when we started, like when we started playing, the they made the comment that when they play games with the family, the two of them aren't allowed to play together, so they're taking advantage of the fact that we don't know that they are exactly the same. And I looked at them, I'm like, wait a second, I play Dungeons and Dragons with both of you. I already know that both of you think the same. It's okay.
Yeah.
I get it. So it was funny. So it was good times. Um, but yeah, that was the event. We're definitely going to do this again next year, but I also think that we're going to try to do something else maybe in the maybe like halfway in between. I think would be a good time if, I know you do a thing on Fridays now where you're getting together. We might try to turn one of those into something, or do something like that. So,
Yeah, we do need to do it more than once a year. That's for sure. We had a pretty good turnout, probably for the space that we reserved.
yeah,
Probably the perfect size turnout for that space.
right.
Um,
Well, and,
so
and yeah, the space that we had kind of limited some of the games we could. There was no way we were going to be had the space to break out a game like Scythe, um, or even like Legends of Dritz or something like that. Those just have so many small pieces and require so much more space. Um, but it was still good. A shout out to California Pizza Kitchen for letting us use that space. So it was really good. They were great. Server was awesome. She was very accommodating and worked with us, knowing that there were some people that were eating there, but they were also extremely considerate of the games and didn't want to set they wouldn't set any of the food on the games. So it was really kind of cool because playing Formula D on those tables, that board took up the whole table, and so they didn't have a problem, with us just kind of eating awkwardly. Um, Always made sure our drinks were full. Was really good. So I
yeah,
give them a
I
shout
felt
out.
bad for her in the beginning because I showed up early so I could eat, so I wouldn't have the opportunity to spill on one of my games. Plus, it gave me the opportunity to be host without
Right.
having to worry about eating. And so my food and drink was kind of out there right away. But everybody came in and she's asking, "Well, what would you like to drink?" And everybody said water. It's like, don't do this to this poor girl. She's working her butt off, and you're gonna order something free.
Yeah. Well, I did end up having a beer there, so that it
Well,
wouldn't.
everybody did. Everybody ended up ordering pizza and appetizers and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I'd say the first 20 minutes, I bet that girl was thinking, "I am getting hosed."
Right.
But
Yeah, taking up a bunch of tables from her and nobody or everyone ordering water. That would have been brutal.
everybody ordered water. It was I cringed every time somebody said, "Well, I'll just have water for now." It's like, "Oh, come on,
But
don't
yeah,
do this."
I think it ended up being a good haul for her. I think everybody was real considerate and understanding of everything. So the those guys are great. You should definitely, even though we're not having an event there right now, you should still go check them out. It's really good food, really good pizzas, and definitely worth people going to and giving them your money. Um,
Yes.
so we also have got to talk about the movie that came out that same weekend, Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 2.
Volume 2.
Um, Blockbuster box office hit. Everybody's loving it. I have not heard a bad review of the movie. Some of the complaints that I've heard people make, even when they make them, they just go, it's my only complaint, and really it's minor and not not even really worthy of calling a complaint." So, your thoughts? I haven't seen it yet. Kip, your thoughts on the movie?
I can't believe you haven't seen it. For one, because I've seen it twice. Jeez.
I haven't exactly had some free time yet. So,
Oh well. So I had some friends who saw it like that Thursday night before a midnight showing, and I asked them what they thought, and then they said they loved it. I said, okay, which one's better, the first one or second one? And every one of them said the second one was better than the first one. So of course now expectations are high going into seeing this movie,
that's
and
which is always dangerous.
it is dangerous. But I'm going to tell you, I loved the movie. I can't say if one was better or if two was better because honestly, they really were two different movies. I mean, yeah, they're the Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, it had some funny spots, but this second one was a completely different feeling movie. It was all heart. This movie was um, all about family, being a family, defending your family. Um, Maybe sometimes your family isn't a blood relative, that kind of vibe. And there's some things that happen at the end that a few of my friends will admit to shedding a tear or two. I'll just say
Ooh.
my allergies were acting up, but it was well done. You're gonna love Baby Groot. Yeah, you could already tell from the commercials, but yeah, Baby Groot was pretty awesome. They gave Drax more speaking lines, and Dave Bautista was very funny as Drax, so I really enjoyed that part about it. The movie wasn't as centered as much on Peter Quill as I thought it was going to be. Yeah,
Yeah.
the whole thing was based on him and his father, but they went out of their way to make sure it wasn't like the only thing you saw, which they did what in D&D we always say we shouldn't do, and that is they split the party, and some of them went to Ego, some of them stayed behind. Um, I think my favorite character in this one, it's probably going to be Yondu, to be honest.
You know, and I've heard that a lot. I have heard a lot of people say that he pretty much stole the show. But not in a bad way. You know, sometimes you have a character that, a supporting character that comes out, like, that shows up in a movie that just outdoes everybody so much that it kind of takes away from the movie. But I heard in this case, like, it was well done and kind of almost perfect.
Yeah, almost perfect is a good way of putting it. There, when the first Guardians of the Galaxy came out, Karen Gillan, who plays Nebula, posted a picture of Michael Rooker
Hmm.
kind of sitting on a ledge looking out the window, and he had on this hat and everything, and she captioned it, there's probably nobody in the world as cool as Michael Rooker, and that kind of stuck with me, and that vibe, you feel that vibe watching him as Yondu. There's just
Yeah.
something about Michael Rooker playing that part, and the first one, you kind of got a sense of who he is a little bit as far as the Ravager is concerned and all that, but you really get to see the real Yondu in this one, which is pretty fabulous. His crew is hilarious. Um, Sean Gunn, the director and writer's brother, who plays a part in that, you didn't know his name until the second movie. You get to find out his name. Uh, he played a much bigger role and a role you really appreciate. It really worked with the story, especially with dealing with Yondu. There was light moments like one of his crew members is named Taserface, and of course there's a whole big joke about that. And um, of course, Rocket just ran with that, so it was perfect. And
Right.
but what I like about these with Guardians of the Galaxy, these first two movies, is it transports you to this place, to this universe that you just can't get enough of. I really wish they could do 20 of these movies
Yeah.
because I just want to keep visiting this. And this one, you got to meet more Ravengers and all this other stuff, but it's nothing in comparison to just the universe that they live in and the possibilities that lie within. Um, like I said, they could make 20 of these, and I don't think it would ever get old for me because just the universe alone, I can't take my eyes off of it. It's just fantastic. So I tried not to spoil anything, and I think I got away with that. So
Yeah.
that's all I'm going to say. You can ask me questions if you want, but you haven't seen it yet, so I'm going to try not to give anything away.
No, I think that was actually, honestly, I think that was a perfect review for it. I mean, that, and you know what, you actually brought up a lot of points that I've heard other people bring up. Just how, like, one, beautiful the cinematography is for it, and just the scenes that they throw out there. But I've heard a lot of people talk that some of where Marvel movies have kind of fallen a little flat as of recent is in the dialogue. And that the dialogue just doesn't seem to hit the right notes when it needs to. But but with Guardians of the Galaxy, it's almost been spot on. I've heard your sentiment about Dave Bautista and his role just being awesome, and that he's so funny, and the writing for him has been so spot on that it just almost makes it easy for him to do that role. So I'm looking forward to going and seeing it. I've got to find some time when I don't have a bunch of other stuff going on a weekend where I can get to the theater and watch it. So I thought about doing it this weekend and taking my kids to go see it, but I just don't know that my 5-year-old could sit through the movie long enough.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's a movie for a 5-year-old. The first one, yeah. I don't think this one is.
Okay.
It's
So,
action packed, yes, but there's a broader story which with more action downtime that maybe a 5-year-old wouldn't get into.
yeah, I mean, even Reese being 8, like he has a hard time when there's movies with a lot of dialogue. He's wanting to watch some other movies now, and so I'm hoping that maybe I can expand him out a little bit so that he can kind of understand the stories. He's starting to understand storytelling a little bit more. He's enjoying a bunch of books so that have some more in-depth type stories to him, and he's wanting to read the Harry Potter stuff. So he's starting to grasp that there doesn't have to be action, action, action like in the in some of the TV shows that he's been watching. Like he likes Power Rangers right now. Well, Power Rangers doesn't have a broad story to the cartoon. It's really just it's dialogue to go from action scene to action scene, and um, so him getting into some of the more stuff. He made the comment today he wants to see Back to the Future, um, which the only reason I hadn't watched it with him yet is because he could barely sit through a 30-minute TV show, let alone a you know hour and a half long movie where there's really no fighting in it. I mean, Back to the
Yeah,
Future has what, like 3 punches in the entire movie?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
um,
It's not action packed, that's for sure.
yeah. So we'll see how that goes first, and maybe then maybe I'll be able to find a time where I could just take him to go see the movie. So
Well, yeah, that's because I don't think this one's it. But a couple of things I want to point out before we stop talking about it is one thing I learned from the movie is Peter Quill's mom cannot sing. Whew. This actress that plays his mom is a horrible singer, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. And I'm pretty sure the guys who played in the band Looking Glass had no idea that one day a song they wrote would be a flimsy plot line for a major motion picture.
yeah,
So I'm
I
sure the guys who look at Glass were like, "What the hell,
I'm
really?"
I am so looking forward to the soundtrack to this movie. I love the soundtrack to the first one, and I heard the second one, the soundtrack's even better. So, um, I I just love it. I can't wait to see this thing. I really want.
Yeah,
I honestly, I could, if I didn't have to work tomorrow morning, I'd go get them, go find a late showing of the movie tonight and go watch it. So
it's worth it. It's totally worth it, and the music does play a big role in this movie as much as it did the first. If you remember in the first movie, at the end, Peter Quill finally opens the gift from his mother, and it's basically Volume 2,
right,
and he puts it in, and it plays "Ain't No Mountain High Enough."
yeah,
If you pay attention to that scene, every time Marvin Gaye is singing, the camera is on Peter Quill, and then every time the girl is singing, I think her name is Tammy, the camera is on Gamora.
mm-hmm,
So they really used the music well in the first one. They took it another step further in this one. Uh,
awesome,
you know, whether people liked the idea of that or not, I don't know. I liked it. It explained Peter's dad, really. So I thought that was kind of cool. And the beginning, the first scene is all based around music.
yeah.
So it's all about Baby Groot getting his groove on. So
more
yeah,
more ways for them to sell dancing Groots. We'll do a quick. We're almost out of time tonight, but let's do a quick talk about a movie that this. We've got a Facebook chat with all the people on the podcast arcade for stuff that are podcast related, people to share ideas and just get things going. Um, you posted something on there almost almost like a demand people to go see King Arthur Legend of the Sword. That good, huh?
Well, the reason I did that is we saw the movie on Sunday morning. Granted, it was Mother's Day, but it was in a small one of the smaller theaters at the AMC, and it maybe was a quarter full. I don't even know if it was that. And I think a lot of people, myself included, saw this trailer and went, I could see it. I could not see it. No big deal. But the wife went ahead and purchased tickets ahead of time, and we were kind of, oh, well, we spent the money. We might as well go see it.
Yeah.
And boy, am I glad we did. And that's why I wanted everybody to have an idea that this movie is worth going to see, because I'd like to see it do better in the box office than it did, because I liked it as much as I liked Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Wow.
I'm not going to say it's a better movie. I'm just going to say the entertainment value of that was just as good. It's a Guy Ritchie movie. I'm a big fan of Guy Ritchie's work.
Yeah, I am
You
too.
can, you can tell it's his movie. There are moments in the movie where the dialogue felt like it was written by Aaron Sorkin, because it's that quick banter back and forth, people talking, very quickly, and you really have to pay attention to keep up. That worked phenomenally. The camera work was totally Guy Ritchie. Holy crap. But it was fantastic. The story, it's a complete retelling.
Right.
So if somebody tells you this is what it's about, you're like, really? Because there's no Merlin. King Arthur is raised in a brothel and trains in a dojo. Those things right there would probably say, I'm never going to see this movie, right?
Right.
But it frickin' worked. The guy who ran the dojo, basically, if anybody watched Marco Polo on Netflix, he played Hundred Eyes, which is basically this blind kung fu master that basically was Daredevil back during Genghis Khan. He could see without seeing. And so I like that actor. Couldn't tell you what his name is, but I like that actor. So he was the guy who trained King Arthur. There is a growing up montage, I'll call it, for King Arthur, that the music kicks ass. It's
Yeah.
this drum heavy, just thematic score during that time. And it's like, all right, just this alone worked for me. And explained why he is good at what he can do and things like this in just a less than 5 minute span. You basically understand why King Arthur, or just Arthur at the time, is capable of commanding people, fighting the way he does, negotiating the way he does. And that's pretty good, saying you can explain all that in the length of a song, but they did.
That's awesome.
And the sword and the stone is there. He has to pull the sword from the stone, which was a kick-ass scene, very energetic feel to this scene. Jude Law basically plays his uncle,
Okay.
who kills Uther, his dad, and is running the kingdom. But he wants Excalibur, but he can't get Excalibur because only Uther's direct heir can wield it. So they go on a big hunt looking for Arthur. They don't know what he looks like. They don't know anything about him because he escaped during the overthrow and was raised in a brothel. So I guess nobody thought to look there. And so they rounded up everybody who was a male about that age and made them all try to pull the sword out of the stone. And then because the plan was once they find who it is, they'll kill him. Jude Law is now the direct heir. He'll be able to wield the sword. So that was basically the premise behind the whole thing. Of course, he finally gets found, dragged out there. He pulls the sword from the stone. The power overwhelms him, basically knocks him out, and then he's held captive. And there's a whole escape and all this other stuff that is very, very well done. There's a kick-ass final battle. I loved it. There's these moments where when he finally does get to where he can control the power of the sword, there's this basically it slows down time for him, and he just can basically just wipe everybody out, you know, because everybody else is moving really slow or practically standing still. He's like Quicksilver with a sword at this point, and you kind of when it's going on, it's kind of like the Quicksilver thing where he's doing all this stuff and everybody's just kind of statues and he's slicing and dicing, and then when it's over with, all the good guys are standing there like, what the fuck just happened? It's like, yes, that's the reaction that should have had. And
Awesome.
so I can't say enough good things about this movie. I'm just hoping a lot of people go see this because it's worth the price of admission. In fact, I want to see it again in the theater. And I want it to do well enough that they continue, maybe, because there's no Lancelot, even though I think I might know who it's going to be. But yeah,
Well,
it's worth it.
the it didn't do terrible in the theaters. It finished third for the weekend.
Yeah,
It
it was
was
only like 20 some mil, wasn't it?
15,
15, yeah.
15
So
million for the
it
weekend.
it cost 173 to make.
Yeah, and that's the little scary part. There's a it's gonna have a hard time making up that ground. Opening the same weekend as Guardians of the Galaxy or right around Guardians of the Galaxy is kind of the hard part. But I mean, it sounds like a good movie. I heard an interview at one point. I wasn't, this movie. I saw the trailer for it, and I was just like, I know it's Guy Ritchie movie. It's probably gonna be really good, but I'm gonna wait till That's one I'll wait for a DVD, like a lot of other Guy Ritchie movies. Um, but then I heard an interview, and I was just like, man, that just sounds really good. So hearing the fact that you were really surprised with how well it actually was, and you want more people to go see it, it's definitely intriguing. I do want to see it, so
And
hopefully
if
other
you
people get out there and see it. Now, as far as a sequel, Guy Ritchie doesn't make a whole lot of sequels, so I'd be curious to see what happens with that. But
well, they left it open to do some things.
no,
So basically, he just becomes King Arthur. He only has a couple of his knights, like Tristan and Percival, I think.
okay,
So there's no Lancelot, there's no Guinevere, there's no Merlin. There's a lot of things they can do from this point going forward. So
very
if there
cool.
is a plan, I hope it does well enough the theater that they will feel like they can execute this plan because Charlie Hunnam, who's from Sons of Anarchy, and
Mm-hmm.
um, he was great as King Arthur.
Yeah.
Actually, he actually got to use his normal speaking tenor, which is a British accent, which is kind of Cockney, really, and it was fantastic. It was, and I watched a lot of British TV, so there were some people in there like, oh, that guy's from Humans, and oh, there's the guy from Game of Thrones, and so that was a cool take from that as well. But it's Guy Ritchie. That alone should make you want to see it.
Yeah.
But like you, I was like, well, I could wait till DVD and all this other stuff. But once I saw it and we were walking out, I was like, holy crap. We got to tell everybody to see this movie because well, it has to do well.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, there you go, everybody. You need to go see King Arthur Legend of the Sword. You need to go see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And you need to play more board games. So,
Absolutely. All of those things.
yeah. We're, I don't know what we're going to do for next week, but we are going to have a show. We're going to get back on our regular schedule. I won't be traveling at least for another few more weeks. in June. We'll have to figure something out because I will be gone for a while. But
Me too.
we will either take a break that week or maybe have some guesty hosties on here. So
Guesty hosties.
yeah, one of those guys. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in this week. You can check out our blog at geekvice.blogspot.com. You can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/geekvice. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, tiny.cc/geekvice, or you can get to it through our Facebook page. If you subscribe and set your notifications on YouTube, they will let you know when new videos go up and when we go live. I get them on my phone every time we start these recordings, so I know it works.
And
You,
we also have an Instagram account.
that's right, we have an Instagram account now. What is the Instagram account? How do you even
Geekvice.
just look for Geekvice? Search for
Yeah.
Geekvice on Instagram. I don't even know how to use Instagram. We're gonna
All
have to
you'll see
figure
is
out.
a bunch of pictures of board games that I play.
Yeah, there you go. We're gonna have to get that connected to the Facebook. I think it can automatically post those to Facebook too. So
Yeah, it takes somebody who computers well.
yeah, we'll have to figure out how to do that because that'll be good. Um, Also, follow us on Twitter. You follow that man over there at Kip Killigan. You can follow me at Geekvice. And of course, you got comments, concerns, suggestions, things you want us to do. You can reach out to us at geekvice@gmail.com. Thanks everybody for listening to our ramblings, and we will see you next week.
Later.
This podcast is part of the Podcast Arcade Network.